The trends that I see in the short term are, first of all, we're going to have much more effective use of data that allows us to personalize learning in ways that we haven't been able to before. I feel like the whole idea of the lecture in college is going away. This idea where you pull 30 students in a room or 50 students or 100 students in a room and you teach the same way to all of them is going away because of technology that allows now individual instructors to see the pace of learning by their students. So many of their students now are watching those lectures online. A professor can answer questions in advance, but they can also see what are the parts of the lecture that people have to watch over and over again because they're not getting that concept. So they have much more data on student learning, and they also have much more data on student pathways, right? So we know if a student fails a class in their sophomore year in a particular major, we know that many of those students are not going to make it by the time their senior year. So we can do we could involve ourselves and move them into other majors or other classes, or focus more on those classes than end up getting them out of those majors. So I think data, both in the classroom and big data as far as student performance, is going to personalize learning in ways that we haven't imagined, even in the next couple of years. The longer term trend to me is around lifelong education, and this idea that we're not just going to go to school once or twice in our life. When we think of school now around the world, we think of it as something that happens to young people, and it happens early in their life, right? They go to K through 12 school, they go to higher education. Even if they go to graduate school, we think they get it in their 20s and then they're done. And the fact of the matter is that because of the changes in the workforce, but most of all because of the churn of knowledge, the need for new skills to keep up in almost any job will require you to go to school essentially for the rest of your life. And that doesn't mean you're going to go back and have to take off time to take classes for 18 months or 24 months to get another degree. But we're going to see much shorter spurts of learning. It's how most of us learn now, right? The number one search term on YouTube is how to do something, right? And that's how we're going to be learning in the future. We're going to be learning in the moment constantly. And right now, YouTube videos are done for that. But I can imagine colleges and universities and schools around the world creating content that allows us to learn in the moment so that we can keep up in life. And schools are going to allow you to come back, not only to take a full class, but just to sit in on one class, or sit on in one lecture, or take on one online course that might last just a couple of hours instead of many months. So we're going to see this new way of learning that is essentially always on throughout our lifetime. I mean, technology is both a blessing and a curse in higher education, right? The promise of technology, to be honest with you, over the last 30 years, I've heard technology is going to save higher education. It's particularly going to save money. And what has happened is it's actually cost. To have the latest in technology at most colleges and universities actually end up costing them more money. Where I, though, now see, especially around two pieces of technology that I think actually can change the game in higher education. One is this idea of artificial intelligence. And if we could have artificial intelligence and technology replace people doing jobs right now in higher education, whether that's people grading or advisors, so now we can potentially have virtual advisors or virtual graders, that can save money. On the other end, data. So we have all this data on student performance. We know when a student has entered school, what they've done, where they've done it, what kind of grades they've had, and then we know their outcomes. So if we can now help track students in a better way, so we can not tell them what to do, but we can give them better information so that when they come in as a first-year student, we can say, people who came in like you, right? They had similar high school grades, they took similar classes. Here's what they ended up doing, and here are the students who had success, and here are the students who didn't have success. So if you want to get out of here in 4 years, if you want to have a successful career, here are the different pathways you should follow. And if you don't want to do that, if you want to end up dropping out or graduating with a lot of debt or not having success in your career, well, here are the students who follow that pathway. So we're not telling students what to do, but we're giving them a lot more information that technology has enabled because of big data. You know, it's amazing to me, as I've been doing research for my books the last couple of years, everybody thinks, well, everybody's going to be going to school online. They're going to be sitting in their pajamas in their bedroom watching videos, you know, on their mobile device or on a laptop computer or on a tablet. And the fact of the matter, I think, is even in a virtual world, and even more so in a virtual world, physical environment is going to matter actually more. Wanting the ability to talk to people face to face, the ability to learn once in a while in person is going to be a huge desire of people. Well, let's think about co-working spaces now that are popping up around the world, right? Where people now may not work for an employer, right? But they don't want to work from their homes all the time, right? So what do? They go to these third spaces that have popped up. In many cases, they just go to coffee shops. But increasingly, they're going to all these other places that have popped up as co-working spaces because they demand kind of physical interaction, right? They want to talk to people. They want to do some teamwork exercises together. And so I can imagine that even in cases where online education becomes increasingly important, you know, I teach at Georgia Tech, and they have an online master's degree in computer science for $7,000, and they have thousands of people around the world enrolled in it. Well, when a Georgia Tech professor or their alumni get together anywhere around the world, people enrolled in those courses show up because they want to be part of a community, right? They want to be part of that community. So in that case, a built environment actually becomes more important. It may not look like a traditional classroom. In fact, I don't think it will. I don't think it will be rows of desks and lines of chairs, and I think the whole idea of the big lecture halls on college campuses are going to disappear. They are going to disappear, but what I think we're going to see in their place are these physical spaces where people come together, even if they're not learning together all the time, but that they come together to work on problems together, to do some teamwork exercises, or just to socialize in a way that they're not able to do online.